Today we're taking a look at these NBA matches, which are happening on Friday, April 21st, 2023, and giving you our team and total picks for today. Welcome back to High Stakes. Before we dive into our video, don't forget to subscribe and to push the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos. Also check out our Patreon if you want access to our premium picks. Our Patreon is a way for us to help you improve your chances of making more money, and if you are interested in props and parlay picks, check out our new channel High Stakes Props and Parlays, where you can find our player props and parlay picks predictions. You will find a link to our Patreon and to our new channel in the description and comments section below. Boston Celtics vs Atlanta Hawks. The big early deficits have forced Atlanta to play out of their comfort zone for big stretches of game clock, and jacking up 77 threes shows exactly that. Atlanta is dead last in the NBA in percent of points from three-pointers, 27.3%, as they don't shoot that shot well as a team in general. The Hawks sit in the bottom third of the league in team three-point percentage, 34.8%, and the only teams beneath them that are in the playoffs are the Lakers, 34.7%, and Heat, 34.5%, who are just fractionally worse. I get that the Hawks need to make use of the three-pointer to catch up from these big deficits as quickly as possible, but do they really believe they can knock off their Celtics at their own game? Boston ranks second in the league in percent of points from three-pointers, 40.7%, and is sixth in the league in team three-point percentage, 37.7%. That's yet another example of the monumental task this Hawks team that went through a coaching change not long ago has of just trying to stay competitive in this series. Throw in the Game 3, down 0-2 in the series point spread tax that is things shaded to the desperate home team, Atlanta, and I just see next to no value in considering the Hawks here. While I do expect the Hawks to shoot the ball a bit better being back at home, especially from their supporting cast, they are still likely to be trailing for a decent part of this game. Hawks fans better hope that doesn't mean some over-reliance on the three-point shot again, because that's a losing proposition in just three-point shooting alone for the Hawks against Boston. Throw in all the long rebounds and chances for easy runouts, Boston gets off all those Hawks misses from deep, and this number actually looks quite cheap on Boston to me. Concerns about Boston's issues on the road in the past this year do linger, but I'm not sure I agree with the idea that the point spread should be cut in half with a venue change. Boston covered the -10 spread by a full possession in the first two games, and it could have easily been much more in Game 1 for sure. The Game 3, down 0-2 bias, just weighs down the Hawks' betting options too much in what's already a bad matchup for them across the board. I don't believe we see Boston head back home for a potential Game 5 tied at 2 in this series, if Game 5 is even needed, and if that's the case, why wouldn't I look towards a Boston side that you know is relatively cheap, given the Game 3, down 0-2 bias? Why wait until a potential Game 4 when the spread is likely to be closer to the -6 or -7 range, depending on Game 3's result? Boston's the better team across the board, and having gone the distance last year, they understand that getting as much rest as you can throughout the playoffs can't hurt. The line is cheap on the Celtics because of the situation, and no matter what style Atlanta tries to play to ultimately change the result, Boston's likely better at playing that way to begin with. The three-point shooting disparity is too much to the Hawks to overcome as a short number underdog that many will gravitate to because of the spot. Give me Boston -5 points. Both games in this series have stayed under the number so far, but as I mentioned earlier, I do expect Atlanta's overall shooting to be better with the secondary options pulling more weight. Boston will happily get involved in a track meet, knowing they are ranked 5 spots higher than Atlanta in offensive efficiency, 2nd versus 7th, and being able to rely on their much better defense 3rd in defensive efficiency versus Atlanta's 22nd to get those necessary key stops late to preserve a win. Atlanta's never paid much attention to its defense all season long, and with their season essentially on the line, I don't think that will change. The Hawks are going to rely upon their strengths, and that's running and putting up points, something they do very well at home, ranked 5th in NBA with 119.6 points game at home. Put it all together, and it all adds up to what should be the first over of this series cashing, as the Hawks will leave no stone unturned on offense to try and climb back into this series. Our total pick is over 228 points. Cleveland Cavaliers vs New York Knicks. The series is tied 1-1, with 3 of the remaining 5 games being played in New York. The Knicks have a chance to take control of this series if they are able to pull off a win in Game 3. Randle had 22 in Game 2, and Jalen Brunson added 20, but the Knicks still lost by 17. They need to regain the success they had in Game 1 where they dominated the glass, winning the rebounding battle 51-38. Brunson and Randle have been leading the Knicks so far in this series. Brunson is averaging 23.5 ppg, and Randle has added 20.5 ppg, with 9.0 rpg. The Knicks have gone deeper into their bench, playing 9 guys 15 minutes or more. RJ Barrett has been relatively quiet in this series. He is only averaging 10.5 ppg through the first 2 games, after averaging 19.6 on the season. Mitchell Robinson is out there for his defense and rebounding, and Quentin Grimes is an quality defender and capable shooter, though he only has 9 points in the 2 games combined. Josh Hart and Emmanuel quickly get backcourt minutes off the bench, while Isaiah Hartenstein and Obi Toppin have been getting post looks. The Knicks are healthy heading into Game 3. New York was 23-18 on their home court this season. They rank 4th in offensive efficiency and 19th in defensive efficiency. New York plays slow, their tempo is ranked 26th in the league. This projects to be one of the tightest series of the first round, and the Knicks only have to cover a small number at home to cash this bet. Julius Randle has proven to be a tough matchup for the Cleveland Bigs. Randle uses his strength and athleticism to go right at the thin front line Cleveland has. The Knicks have been playing well without the typical production RJ Barrett supplies. Expect Barrett to play closer to his averages on his home floor and have a big impact here. The Knicks have the 4th most efficient offense in the league, and if Barrett can be the reliable third scorer he was all season, the Knicks will be tough to keep up with. Cleveland has only had 2 reliable scorers this series in Mitchell and Garland. The role players will struggle even more on the road. Mitchell Robinson is a similar player to Jarrett Allen and can take away from his regular productivity. The Knicks fans will be loud and ready for playoff basketball to return to the Garden and expect New York to take Game 3 at home. Take the Knicks to win and cover. The books are trying to catch up to this series but haven't figured it out yet. The first game went under the total of 216, then the second game went under the total of 214. Game 3 is set at 211 and it will go under again. NBA totals have been inflated all season, but playoff basketball has brought scoring back down to earth. These are also 2 of the slowest paced teams in the league, both ranking in the bottom 5 in the pace of play. The Garden is not an easy place for visitors to play, so I do not expect Cleveland to come in and start lighting it up. Cleveland has had trouble finding scoring behind Mitchell and Garland, expect the same to stay true on the road. Take the under 211 points. Denver Nuggets vs Minnesota Timberwolves. Denver finished the regular season as the number 1 seed and has looked just like it through the first 2 games of the playoffs. In Game 1, the Nuggets blew out Minnesota 109-80, and in Game 2, beat the T-Wolves 122-113 and were down 2 points going into the 4th but rallied to get the win. In the victory, Denver was led by Jamal Murray, who had 40 points, Nikola Jokic had 27 points, Michael Porter Jr. had 16, Aaron Gordon had a double-double with 12 points and 12 rebounds, and off the bench, Jeff Green had 11 points. Minnesota won the final play-in game to get the 8th seed, but now sees themselves down 0-2. In the first game, the T-Wolves were never it, as the Nuggets dominated them from start to finish. Game 2 was a different story as Minnesota dropped 40 in the 3rd quarter but fell apart defensively in the 4th quarter and lost the game. In the loss, Anthony Edwards had 41 points, Rudy Gobert had 19, Mike Conley had 14 points, Taurean Prince had 12 points, Karl Anthony Towns had a double-double with 10 points and 12 rebounds, and off the bench, Kyle Anderson had 10 points. The Timberwolves have struggled shooting the ball as Minnesota is shooting just 43.8% from the field and 37.3% from 3. Meanwhile, the T-Wolves are averaging just 96.5 ppg through 2 games, which is not going to win a series. But they have been led by Edwards, who's averaging 29.5 ppg, Gobert is averaging 13.5 ppg and 10.5 rebounds, Conley is averaging 11 ppg, Anderson is averaging 10.5 ppg, and Towns is averaging 10.5 ppg and 11 rebounds. Denver is a 2.5 point favorite on Friday, but I'd rather just play the minus 135 and take them on the money line to go up 3-0 in the series. Although the series does go to Minnesota, Denver has controlled the series and is clearly the better team. The T-Wolves are having a hard time scoring in this Nuggets defense, as Jokic is playing well to defend Towns and Gobert. Meanwhile, this season, Denver was 14-12 as the road favorite. In the regular season, Minnesota did win both games at home, but in the playoffs, the Nuggets will tighten the rotation up and are playing really good basketball right now. The T-Wolves have no answer for this Nuggets offense, and I expect Denver to pick up a big road win and go up 3-0 in the series. Take the Nuggets money line. I also like the under 223 points in this matchup, as neither game has been that high scoring. This season, Denver was 44-39-1 in hitting the under, while as a road favorite, they went 14-12 hitting the under, while Minnesota was 46-40 in hitting the under, and as a home underdog, the T-Wolves are 11-5 in hitting the under. So far the 2 playoff games have gone for an average of 212 ppg. In the playoffs, Denver has been playing better defense and really limiting this T-Wolves offense. As well, the Nuggets play at a pace of 99.7, which ranks 23rd, while Minnesota plays at a pace of 102.7, but their offensive efficiency ranks 23rd as they don't make good on their possessions. Take the under 223 points.